This Foreign Affairs Ministry closes Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C., USA, as part of a restructuring and systems overhaul after uncovering a major corruption scandal. Also, former board chair of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, GIF, Professor Christopher Ameyakumfi, pleads not guilty to charges of causing financial loss to the state. 15% reduction in transport fares yet to be effected by some drivers, with others charging below the 15% reduction. We'll have details for you. A lot later, Portia Gabo tells the story of 6-year-old music sensation Papa Boafo William Mensah, and you want to stick and stay for that one. And you're welcome to a brand new week here on News Central. I am Mawena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Now, Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C. has been closed temporarily following fraud revelations by staff there. An audit sanctioned by the Foreign Affairs Minister has revealed damning findings of diversion of customers from the embassy's official website to private individuals, costing the state millions. The scheme, according to the minister, had been ongoing for the last 5 years, with one Fred Kwarteng of the IT department as a lead on the illegal operation. All foreign affairs staff currently at the embassy have been recalled back to the country, with the Attorney General tasked with prosecuting the culprits. Let's try and break down the revelations of this latest audit as we've been getting details of from the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Blackwell, and that's what I'm going to walk you through this afternoon. And so it starts with just a very simple system that this Fred Kwarteng and his accomplices put together, where they provided an unauthorized link which was diverting customers of visa and passport applicants to a completely new website. So they log on to the state official website seeking to acquire a visa or a passport. When they click on the application process, or click on the link which is expected to have them start the entire process, that link redirects them to Ghana Travel Consultants GTC, and this private firm owned by this Mr. Kwarteng charges these applicants between $29 and $60 per applicant. That's what this audit found out. Also, the investigations, like we told you, revealed that Mr. Kwarteng and his collaborators operated this illegal scheme for at least 5 years. There's a bit more on what we've been finding out and what course of action is being taken, and that the conduct, according to the minister, has been reported to the Attorney General for possible prosecution and retrieval of funds obtained through this fraudulent scheme, and that all Ministry of Foreign Affairs staff posted to the Washington embassy have been recalled home with immediate effect. The embassy's IT department has been promptly dissolved. All locally recruited staff at the embassy have been suspended, and the Auditor General has subsequently been invited to conduct forensic examination of all transactions and to determine the total cost of this elaborate scheme. The last part, the embassy has been closed for a number of days, which we cannot tell. Let's take you over the phone lines right now. Dr. Daniel Dramani Kipo Sunyazi is a senior research fellow at the Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, LACIAD. He's joining us right now. Let's pick his thoughts on what it is that we're finding out. Doc, how worrying of a development is this for the country to start off with?
All right, thank you very much. This is certainly a very worrying situation. For a country like Ghana, that's a very good image, and not even any other foreign mission, but a very great, big mission like Washington, D.C., biggest of Ghana's foreign missions. So it should certainly be a worrying point. But I will also want to commend the sector minister for due diligence. Of course, if such a fraud had happened for several years, and this is the period where the minister promptly noticed some of this, then quickly we'll have to set a committee to look into it. And that is very, very commendable. It's a bad news for the country, but it's also good from the level of promptness, the immediacy that government has given to this thing. I think that is a very good one.
There are a number of things that immediately stick up. One of such is that even another post by the minister which revealed these details, other Ghanaians are pointing same accusing fingers to other embassies in the United States and in other parts of the country. It does, from the reaction which has greeted this, point to the fact that this could be widespread and we should be seeing a lot more action across board.
Yeah, I think that is something that we should not actually downplay, and that is something that a country, Ghana, cannot afford to gloss over. What has happened in Washington, D.C. should be an eye-opener, and I think that the sector minister and government of the day need to look into it. It could happen in other foreign missions, and we have quite a number of Belgium, we go to Africa here, in Europe. So it is appropriate that the investigation should not be confined to only Washington, where this fraud has been discovered, but we need to extend it to other foreign missions, so that Ghana will not find itself in another situation of temporarily closing down another foreign mission. We need to act promptly and look into this issue so that it does not reoccur or possibly prevent it, and that should be the way forward.
And you mentioned the closure of the foreign mission. We do not know how long this closure is expected to be. The minister just said a few days could be 2 weeks and all of that. What does that do, first off, to corporate image of the brand Ghana on the international front, and the biggest of all of such embassies being closed down for a few days? What are the potential ramifications, just briefly?
Yeah, I think one of the first things is that Ghana, we may lose some money. As Washington, the biggest of all, is closed. Even if it closed for a day, that's a lot of money that might have been lost. People apply for visa, passport, a whole lot of consular services that the country makes some money. So that can be a financial drain. And I think that it is appropriate that the ministry, the sector minister, they try to look into this matter as quickly as possible, so that other embassy staff could be taken back to Washington. The old ones could be withdrawn, but new ones, we need them there quickly for the image of Ghana abroad. And
then I just wanted to ask one final question about you being the expert in this field, matters of diplomacy. Is it quite common for persons within the diplomatic space to be engaged in acts of corruption in such brazen fashion as well? Because one will believe that there will be some level of tact, some level of above the average individual when persons are employed within such sectors, because the salary, we understand, is quite good as well.
Yeah, I think from the diplomatic circle, the kind of training that is given to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and his staff, certainly, I don't think that they will get themselves into this mess to that level. And reading through the report, it became clear that it is a local staff which possibly was recruited, maybe hasn't gone through all the rudiments of training that is given to the Minister of Foreign Affairs staff. That might be because the staff themselves are very professional. They have been given a lot of training, and let's say as one of the institutions that is training them, and they have been trained in various places. I believe that the foreign officers, such content of fraud wouldn't have come from them. So it should also be an eye-opener for the Minister of Foreign Affairs to look into the recruitment of temporary staff. They need to give them some orientation, some proper training before taking them to the foreign missions, so that we don't see them diverting funds and creating wrong links that could compromise the integrity of the country. So we need to look into the recruitment process, whether temporal or permanent. We must give all of them very good training, in-service training. Ethical issues must be taken onto them, and we also need to have a monitoring officers. Every foreign mission, we need to have some people who can monitor the website and monitor activities so that we can detect this very early and deal with it promptly.
Doc, I appreciate you speaking to us. That's Dr. Daniel Dramani Kipo-Sunyezi. He's a senior research fellow at the Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, LESIAD, with the University of Ghana. We're going to take this conversation to another of such experts again as well. Dr. Edward Danso-Ansong is a senior lecturer and the head of the cybersecurity department of the computer science at the University of Ghana as well, because this involves cybersecurity. And there are those who are raising, you heard Doc, just at the tail end of his submission, raise possible security breaches and concerns as well. How easily it was for this to have been done. Well, it was a staff of the IT department. It's why the entire IT department has been suspended as well. But let's bring in Doc as well, just quickly. Doc, I appreciate that you could speak to us. And if you could kindly turn on your video so viewers watching at home as well can see you. It appears to be very sophisticated scheme. From where you sit, there are loopholes. One that clearly we need to be identifying and be plugging as soon as possible.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. In a matter of fact, I think there were several, breakdowns in IT policies that were not followed at all. Weak access control policies that were actually observed, because normally no IT officer is given unfettered access to the entire system. Just like that. There are access control policies that has some checks and balances as to who should have access to what and at any given point in time. But with this, and from what we are hearing, it means this IT officer had full access to everything. There was no such policy of IT audit, because this could have actually been flagged. Normally, for such high, profile websites and all that, there are at least 3 to 6 months of audits that need not be done or carried out by people who would have to be physically present, but it's usually done remotely. So this thing could have actually worked out. And I know that government has several institutions and agencies responsible for handling this. Typical example is NETA. NETA has a sole mandate of, managing all government sites and systems and anything that has to do with IT. So what actually happened? Do we even have this, policy that was used to enact the law that sets up the IT? Are we fully, complying with these policies, or is it just sitting in the books and not, having any effect? Because currently, if you go to the various ministries, you even observe that each ministries are now hiring their own IT officers. They have to be taken through training. Who tells you that these people are not aware of what they were actually doing? But because they took advantage of the opportunity that there was no, monitoring, there was no audits, there was no one who was actually checking to know the various checks and balances. Because where on earth can we actually have a situation similar to this, where an IT policy, IT officer can simply make a change to a website without the notice of anyone who is higher, to be able to find out that there has been this change on the website. And all these logs are there. All these logs are there. We have various, cyber security policies and all of that sitting in our books that prescribes how, such changes, even in government sites, government websites and applications, must even be carried out. So now, what actually happened? That's the question we just need to ask ourselves.
Right, and considering the argument of supervision, should we be seeing a lot more stringent supervisions, particularly on these websites, because they have potentials for cybersecurity breaches involving the country's entire security architecture as well. There are those who make the argument that there should be a supervisor from down here in Ghana who perhaps will have the master access to all of these websites and be able to check when anybody is negatively compromising websites and possibly the nation's security in these embassies.
Let me actually reiterate the points that all these segregation of duties are there. The policies prescribes how all these government sites and applications should be handled. I had the privilege of working with the World Bank that was superseding, how government applications and its development and all of that were actually carried out. I was doing the audit as well, and you could see we have all the laws in our books that prescribes how all these things are done. That's why I even mentioned NITA, the National IT Authority. There are prescriptions for handling and managing all these kinds of things that may go wrong. But the thing is, who were those responsible for supervising, carrying out audits, the various reports and all that? Because for you to even have the chance of making a change to any government and official website, you have to, log it down. You need clearance.
Right.
It goes through stringent and various stages of, approval process before any of such thing can actually happen. But in this case, there was no such thing. So it clearly tells us that we need a comprehensive, audit of all such sites across the world in order to identify whether this thing is widespread or it's only peculiar to the Washington embassy.
Doc, and in the case of the argument you make as to we having the laws and individuals who are supposed to be playing some role in terms of supervising, should we be calling all of these persons for questioning as to why this one individual was able to go through the entire process and they couldn't detect?
Of course. It is sad to even mention that per even the laws, I know that some may even lose their jobs. It is very, very sad to say, because there were negligence, people who should have taken, responsibility for certain actions, which they are actually being paid for, and all of that, who, renege on their responsibility, and all those who were not able to do all of this, yes, are clearly going to be sanctioned, because, they are actually receiving taxpayers' money, and they are being paid for the role and the responsibility that they are supposed to do. So if they failed to actually do this, then it means that, sanctions will definitely be applied.
Doc, I appreciate you speaking to us. That's Dr. Edward Danswan-Song, is a senior lecturer, head of cybersecurity lab at the Department of Computer Science with the University of Ghana as well, speaking to us this afternoon. And that's the very latest that we've got. There are prosecutions expected, and then as well, a lot more expected from the Attorney General. But let's take you to courts, because that's where all prosecutions are expected to happen at. And there's one of such which has caught the attention of Ghanaians, because former board chairman of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, GIF, Professor Christopher Amayekufi, has pleaded not guilty to charges of causing financial loss to the state, conspiracy, and international or intentional dissipation of public funds. Now, appearing in court for the very first time today, May 26th, at the Accra High Court, Professor Amayekufi entered his plea in the ongoing trial over the controversial SkyTrain project, a venture that cost the state some millions, $2 million, but failed to materialize in the controversial SkyTrain saga. I want to take you to court right now. Lord Edwasare is my court correspondent, my colleague in the courts for us. Lord, you were there for yourself. The last time he couldn't be present, his plea could not be taken because he had taken ill. Today he was in court. Walk us through how it all went down.
The latest development is that the former board chair of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, Professor Amir Kunfi. He's been granted a 10 million CD bill with 2 sureties to be justified by landed property. Like indicated, this is his first time in court, and I must say that he was wheeled into the courtroom in a wheelchair. His lawyers, if you recall, argue that from the last time he had undergone certain medical procedures. Well, they outlined that in court today that, among other things, Professor Amir Kunfi has undergone a hip surgery, thus affecting his mobility, the reason for which he was in the wheelchair today. Now, he pleaded not guilty to the charges, and the charges that both he and then the former CEO are being charged as 6 counts of charges comprising of conspiracy to commit crime, willfully causing financial loss to the state, and then intentional dissipation of public funds. They have both pleaded not guilty. And one thing we also observed, Marina, was that there was the presence of some former ministers or former members of parliament. There was the former member of parliament for Asin Central, Kendi Ejapon. There was Martin Ejimesa Kosa, and then a former statesman, S.K. Buafu. I'm just learning that the former MP of Asin Central, Kendi Ejapon, is one of the sureties of Professor Amir Kunfi. And so, Marina, this is what basically transpired in court. We also do know that the ex-CEO of the GIIF, Solomon Asamoah, he was still escorted in court by NIB officials.
Meaning he's not been able to meet his bail conditions.
He's still not been able to meet his bail conditions, Marina, and so he was escorted back. They are hoping that, again, maybe by close of today, they would have finished that, and then he will also be released on bail. And
what next for this case? Both their pleas taken, they both say not guilty. When are we expecting them back in court?
Right, so today the main business of the day was for Professor Amir Kunfi to appear in court and then his plea be taken. This has been done, and so the case has been adjourned to June 10 for the proceedings to continue. And
Lord, I just want you to stay with us because we know outside of this, there are also some very important hearings expected a lot later today having to do with the former Signals Bureau chief as well. Brief us on what we're expecting to happen today following the previous appearances in court.
Right, Marina, so we understand that Kwabena Edubuahin, he's back in court together with his wife, and then the third accused person, Mildred Donko. You'd recall that at the last time, he hadn't been able to meet some bail conditions, especially because he had been rearrested by the National Intelligence Bureau, I should say, IOCO, on a different charges that has to do with the provision of internet services for the Ghana Water Company. So we are yet to find out if he had met the bail conditions that was probably given to him. Then we'll see how things will pan out in court today. And if even that separate charges we put before the court today, because Marina, at the last time we were in court, there was an entirely different number of cases that he's facing. And then his lawyer, Atasha, indicated to the court that he had been arrested on midnight of that day following the new charges which had been proffered against him with reference to a different or separate matter altogether. So when you're back in court today, we'll see if that case will be tabled before the court and then it will be added to the charges that he's already facing, and it will continue from there.
Right, then, as always, Lord, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague, Lord Edouard at the High Court Complex for us. And from the High Court Complex here in Accra, we're taking you to that which is in Kumasi, because they are set to deliver a verdict today in the high-profile bribery case involving Alexander Kwabena Safo Kantanka, President Akufo-Addo's 2021 nominee for the Joabin Municipal Chief Executive position. Safo Kantanka faced public outrage after a viral video appeared of him demanding a refund of alleged bribe. The Office of the Special Prosecutor subsequently charged him with bribery and abuse of office. Throughout the trial, the prosecution presented compelling evidence, including witness testimonies, to substantiate the charges. Meanwhile, the defense team vigorously challenged the allegations, arguing that the claims were unsubstantiated. All eyes are now on the Kumasi High Court as a judge prepares to deliver judgment on the matter. Ibrahim Abubakar is live at the courthouse for us. He's joined us via phone. Ibrahim, a big day today. Describe to us the mood at the Kumasi High Court.
Well, Mauna, very, very calm. In fact, I'm not seeing the kind of supporters I saw in the beginning of the case. In fact, this morning when the accused was coming, Alexander Safokantanka, he came in the company of one person that I saw and also his lawyers. When the case started, he was coming to court with a number of party supporters, but today it's different. And just a few minutes ago, Justice Priscilla Dikro-Fori have had a seat, and in the next few minutes, she will be giving a verdict. But before then, Mauna, let's give a brief background about this case. We do know that between September to November 2021, members of the municipal or Joabi Municipal Assembly rejected twice Alexander Safokantanka, who was nominated as the MC for the area. Out of the 26 assembly members, he had only 10 years and 15 voted no, with one rejected ballot. And after the election, the visibly angry nominee who failed to secure 2/3 of the vote went on rampage on camera and demanded a refund of the money he has given to the assembly members. On that same day, we were told that the police arrested him and subsequently granted him a self-recognizance bill. Then, the following days to come, the OSP invited him for questioning, and later they charged him with 26 counts of election-related corruption. Now, these 26 covered all the 26 assembly members. He had given money to facilitate the election to become the MC for the area. Now, on June 1, 2022, he appeared at the Kumasi High Court for the first time, then the case began. Then on April 11, 2024, the High Court partially dismissed an application the accused had filed for submission of no case to answer. The court then determined that the prosecution had established a prima facie case on 3 of the charges, and for that matter, he has to continue with his defense, and for that matter, he opened it and he was cross-examined. The judgment was initially said to be given on November 28, 2024, but around that same time, the presiding judge, Justice Priscilla Dikro-Fori, was transferred, and that delayed. But before she was transferred, fortunately, she also submitted a case completion plan, which meant that she has to come back and give the final ruling. So today she is back in Kumasi, and the next few minutes she will give the final ruling on the matter. So we are waiting to see what the outcome will be.
Can be in court and get those details for us. That's my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar speaking to me and providing details there. And we'll stay in the region because the Ashanti Regional Chair of the main opposition, the New Patriotic Party, Bernard Nchiboesiako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, will appear before the CID today for questioning after a botched arrest attempt last Friday. On Friday, May 23, a joint team of national security operatives and police officers tried to arrest him at his residence, but that was not successful. The operation sparked immediate backlash, with NPP supporters gathering at Wuntumi's home in Kumasi to protest the heavy police presence. The reason for the arrest attempt remains unclear, but some have linked it to an alleged illegal mining activities in the forest reserves by Akwanta Mining, owned by him, and the decision to report to the CID follows a commitment by Wuntumi's legal team to produce him after the Bosch attempt. So live here on News Central. We're going for our very first break. When we return, we have a bit more stories for you, including that bit about transport fares, that 15% reduction, and whether or not drivers are heeding to the demand by GPRTU to slash the prices. Stay with us. is among some drivers. Passengers are expressing displeasure that the GPRTU's directive for a 15% fare cut effective May 24th is being widely ignored by some drivers. For on-the-ground report, we cross live to Belinda Tete, who's in the Bono East region for us. Belinda, what really is the situation? You've been interacting with drivers, transport owners, and then customers as well. Give us a sense of really what they've been telling you. Hello, Belinda. Can you hear me? Well, it does appear Belinda cannot hear us just as yet. And the subject of transport fares and its attendant challenges drives pretty much a lot of the inflation we experience in the country. And so the argument has been simple. Fuel prices have dropped drastically over the last few weeks and months, hence a need for the fares associated with movement as well to be reduced. David Agboado, we understand, is the PRO of the Concerned Drivers Association. He will join us as well pretty shortly. And then we'll gauge the mood as to really what the situation is in the Bono East region, where my colleague Belinda Tete is stationed, and we'll get details of. And then here in Accra as well, a number of you have been speaking, raising concerns as to why the fares are not being reduced by 15%. Some drivers are completely rejecting the directive, and it sparked widespread conversations, particularly on Twitter as well, where people are saying that, look, we need an alternative to ensure that we're not held at a ransom by these private individuals. But let's try Belinda Tete one more time. Hopefully, we can get her and engage her. Belinda, if you can hear me, I am hoping the connection to you is better. Talk to us as to what the situation is on the ground in the Bono East region. Well, it does appear she still cannot connect, cannot hear us, and so we'll have to shift the conversation away from the Bono East region. I mentioned David Agboado is the PRO of the Concerned Drivers Association as well. He will join us pretty shortly so we can have quick reactions. I understand he's on the phone with us. David, you've received reports on compliance level from drivers on fare reduction. Why are your members not respecting this directive?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to your viewers. And then I would say our members are complying with the rules because we have sent a signal to the regions, and the regions have do the same thing to the branches, and then the branches to the locals. So I would say our outfit, we are complying with what is going on. I check on GPRTU, they are also doing the same. They are also complying.
So which,
with Protua, they are complying.
So which drivers then are refusing to comply? Because today, my colleague Kukiti and the New Day team were in a trotro live on television where clearly the signals were that some of the drivers are not complying with the directive.
I cannot speak for them, but what I know is that we, those that have agreed, we are doing it. Those that are not paying, or those that are not paying attention to this, I would say they don't belong to any transport operation, any transport union. Because if you belong to a transport union and your head is saying that this is what you must do, or this is the directive, you must follow it. Because if you didn't, the sanctions or the penalties that are aligned with your constitution will be used against you. But those that are not doing that is those that don't have any union. But this one, the state or the police must do it for us, because you see, it's a social contract that we have signed with Ghanaians that if a fare is being increased, we will increase it. If a fare is being reduced, we will reduce it. Then here lies the case, we are reducing it and they are not complying. If they are not complying, the law must take its course, because we have signed contracts with the people of the nation, or Ghanaians that, or transporters that if the fare goes up, we will increase it. If it comes down, we will decrease it. So once it's down, and they are not complying, we are begging the NCCD and then the municipal chief executives to go to the ground and talk with the people that are not adhering to what is going on.
Just round up for me, please. Mr. Aguado, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, so there's a certain concern, deep-seated frustration by a number of Ghanaians as to the operations of those in the private transport industry, that you're not doing enough in terms of this social contract you speak of, because fares have come down. It had to take incessant complaints for you to reach this decision to reduce by 15%. And they even make the argument that the reduction can be a lot more than 15% as well, even though there are some who are still not complying.
You see, we those that are patient, I'll say it and say it again. We those that are union, or we those that are under an umbrella, we are all complying. Those that are not complying is those that don't have any union. So that is where we must take it from. You see, when it is increment, we then say, I do not belong to this union or that union, so I will not increase. They all follow suit. The recent one that we did an increment on 20%, they hadn't been taking it. So why now that we are reducing it, they say because of you don't belong to this union, they will not reduce it. The law must take its course.
Right then, Mr. Aguado, we'll leave it here. And as the fuel prices, the hope for many Ghanaians is as the cedi continues to perform against the dollar, there will be a lot more reduction. And I'm sure when the fuel prices continue to go down, you will be reducing fares still accordingly in line with the fuel price reductions?
You know something, the one that we did right now,
yeah,
we are not supposed to come to 15%. I don't want to go much into it, but for now, what is on the table is that we have reduced the transport fare by 15%.
So prices reach 10 cedis per litre, you will not go down further?
For now, when we get there, when we get to the bridge, we will cross it. But for now, it is the 16% that we are talking of.
Right.
This is reduced gradually to the percentage that we need to do it. We will do it. Why not?
Right.
We have done this one. So if the second one comes, that it has reduced to the price that we have to do, we will do it. But for now, we are talking of the 15%.
Right. Mr. Aguado, I appreciate you speaking to us. That's David Aguado, is PRO of the Concerned Drivers Union. I want to take you again to the Bono East region, hopeful this time that Belinda Tete can hear us. Belinda, talk to us what the situation is in the region, a bit of confusion between passengers and transport operators. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, so passengers are actually expressing displeasure with the conduct of some of the drivers who have decided not to pay heed to the directive by the GPRTU. So this morning, I visited the station, and they have so much expressed their displeasure with the fact that some drivers keep complaining of the fact that fuel is not the only reason why they should reduce their prices, and that fuel fare prices is being affected by the fact that spare parts are also still expensive, and the fact that the roads are also not good. And so if they reduce the prices, all of these things are also not being cut. And so they will be at the losing end. But the passengers are also saying that once it is a directive, they know that it is a directive and it's from the GPRTU. And so they expect compliance from every driver. And so they are actually not happy with the fact that some drivers have decided not to pay into this directive. Some are actually decided to go by it, and they've reduced it. So, for example, the cars that GPRTU cars that go to Kumasi, from Chichimang to Kumasi, have actually reduced their prices. It was initially 50 cedis, but this morning when I got there, they reduced it to 45 cedis. But some of the drivers, especially with the taxis that do short from town to town, they have decided not to reduce it. Their reason being that the GPRTU doesn't directly control them. That is what some of them are saying. And also some are also with the view that the GPRTU is supposed to come down to the district to speak to them directly, because there are some areas where you go to, and by the time you come back, your car is full because the roads are really bad. So a place like Atemui, they expect that such a place, they cannot reduce the price because the road is terribly bad. And then by the time you go and come back, something will be spoiled. Your car will get, either your tire will be punctured or there should be something spoiled with your car that at the end of the day, you go and return. And so these are some of the factors they are considering for not reducing their prices.
Chaspelenda Tete, she's my colleague in the Bono East region, providing details there for us. And very important that these fares come down, because the direct correlation fares have with the cost of goods and services, and even the food you get at your market, you will not believe it, because these goods are carted from different parts of the country. They add the transport factor as well to it. And so it's a very important conversation, and one that must be seen through to the very end. But let's take you to the northern region right now, where academic activities at the Impahati I Amadea Junior High School in the central Gonja district of the Savannah region has been seriously affected following a heavy rainstorm that ripped off the entire school building roofing. The incident has significantly disrupted teaching and learning, with their classroom rendered unusable. From three pupils who have only 3 months to write their BEC have been relocated to a KG block, with Form 1 and 2 sitting under trees. Christopher Mwako visited the area. He's joining us right now on Zoom to paint a picture for us. Chris, how are the pupils and teachers coping right now with this development, particularly these JHS 3 pupils who have barely 3 months? The BEC, where crucial studies should be expected to happen. Well, I got the indication, Christopher, we've just lost him as a result of the internet connection. But let's hear from the headmaster who's been speaking to my colleague Christopher Marco.
Currently, our school is deteriorated, because when you check, some couple of weeks ago, there was a storm that ripped off almost the entire building. In actual sense, the report has been given through our district education office. And currently, when you come to the school level to teach, we have estimated of 170 students who currently enroll in the school. Our Form 3, who is barely some 3 weeks to write, have been relocated to a KG block because of their agent issues. But the rest, when they come, we have to sit under trees. So we are appealing to the district assembly and to the regional education office, the regional coordinating council, to come to our aid.
I'm equally directing the district chief executive to, as a matter of urgency, come to the renovation of the school, get it properly roofed and anchored properly, so that it can withstand the storm when it does come. When this is done, I think that we may get a lasting solution. Of course, this school, looking at the doors, it means that there ought to be additional renovation. I know that resources have not been released yet.
Let's connect with Christopher, this time via the phones. Chris, I'm particularly concerned about the JHS 3 pupils. How are they managing, even as we've heard from the minister and as well the head teacher of the school?
Yeah, so Mawena, it hasn't been easy for them, because for them to be moved to a KG block where there is no enough space to accommodate them, then it should tell us that they are actually suffering the brunt of the classrooms getting ripped off. Now, when we visited the community, according to them, they are barely some weeks to go and write their BEC examination, and sitting in such a classroom to have their lessons isn't the best. The KG block itself is not in a good state, and so it is putting much discomfort on them, especially as they prepare for their basic education certificate examination. Now, one thing is that already the education standards in this part of the country isn't too good, and getting compounded by some of these challenges psychologically will affect these children. But the school and the GES directorate in the Central Gonja district are trying their best to psych them up, not to think so much about what has happened, so that they will concentrate on their studies.
Right then, Chris, thank you very much for those details. That's Christopher Mark, who is my colleague in the northern parts of the country for us. You take us on to our very second break. When we return, we have details of Dr. Andy Abe's exclusive interview on hot issues yesterday. A number of you have been reacting to some of the details. We'll get back and then we'll bring you excerpts. Stay with us. Back here on News Central, quick news updates for you by way of Bernard Nchiboe-Siako, who is the Ashanti Regional Chair of the NPP. We get the indication that he has, along with his lawyers, reported himself to the police CID at their headquarters here in Accra. I'll be bringing you details of that as well. And a lot later, in subsequent bulletins, we're getting word that Alexander Safo Kantanka as well has been found not guilty by the presiding judge. We'll get the details for you if you go and log on to 3news.com. But let's bring you this A very exclusive story, one that warmed many hearts because he may be small in size, but when he sings, it will leave you in awe with the music lingering in your heart long after it fades. Portia Gabor tells the story of 6-year-old music sensation Papa Boafo William Mensah, who is proof that sometimes great music can come from a tiny voice.
My name is Papa and I am 6 years old. I am a student of Pastor School and I am going to grade 3. My hobbies are reading and singing. The name of my music teacher is Uncle Kent.
He is 6 years, has a beautiful voice and ready to use his God-given talent to impact the world.
I sing every day, so I don't even know the age I even started to sing.
Who inspires you to sing?
My mother and a friend on TikTok called Nana Abre. He plays the piano very well.
I love to sing. So with all my children, like every mother does, I sing with them right from bed. And with Papa, I realized that after singing a particular song for a while, the next time you are singing again, you see him trying to sing along with you. And I saw that very fascinating. So I'll just pick my phone and I'll take a video of him singing. So right from about 1.5, I realized that he was singing.
His mother recounts the most rewarding experience for her in Papa's musical journey.
My dad is the immediate past presiding bishop of the Methodist Church. And on the day of his validation, during the service, I told them that Papa can sing, let him sing for Grandpa. And he sang Your Grace and Mercies. And people were teary. I could see Grandpa, I saw the tears in his eyes, and that made me so happy that at least God, through him, has given the world such a beautiful gift.
When Papa is not singing, he's your regular 6-year-old. He loves to read. He solves math problems.
Because 9 + 6 is 15.
And loves being a good friend.
Papa is my friend. He likes to sing. Sometimes he sings in class. Every program he sings.
He's had a rare privilege of singing with some choirs, including the glorious Philharmonic Choir. If you could sing with anyone in the whole wide world, who would it be?
Maybe Malachi Bayo, maybe Lordina the soprano, maybe Harmonious Chorale. And I also love to sing with Uncle James Varick Ama. He will play the piano and I will sing.
Out there are some music schools that you can just put a child who has the gift right from the start. Unfortunately, we don't have that here. So my prayer is that you have the opportunity to be in such a school and have his gifts nurtured. I pray he becomes a blessing to the world at large.
who knows, he could aim high and follow in the footsteps of legendary composers and singers like Ephraim Amu, Pavarotti, Andrea Bocelli, or perhaps he'll forge his own unique path as Papa, inspiring generations to come.
That's music sensation Papa Boafo, and it's interesting he mentions Malachi Bayo. I would love to see the both of them work together. Maybe he will be on British Got Talent a lot later. But that's our bulletin for you this afternoon. A lot more news if you log on to 3news.com, because it's packed with the latest. Government announced exemptions of state institutions which should not be paying electricity bills. You should go and check that out for yourself as well. The afternoon show is next on your television. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.